Chapter 131, Threats. With a turn of his hand, a sharp Mitsubishi Army knife appeared in his hand. Then, he sneered again, "I'll give you a multiple choices question. Do you want me to cut off your legs? Or hands? Of course, you also can cut off one leg and one hand." Tai Long stepped back subconsciously. Suddenly, he realized that there was still the 4 experts from the magnificent dragon martial school. The hanging worry in his heart suddenly went back to normal as he said with a sneer, "You're so fucking crazy, brat. Do you believe you're able to pack me up? Don't you think that it is I who'll solve you?" These 4 men are instructors from the magnificent dragon martial school. Martial arts experts. They are especially invited to deal with you. If you brat knows your own good, apologize to me and we'll end this matter. Otherwise, I'll fuck you up. Magnificent Dragon Martial School? This was the first time Tang Xiu heard this martial school name. He calmly shook his head and said, "I am just a high school student. Never once have I heard the name. The 4 of you, it's a resentment and grudge I have with Tai Long. I hope that you don't meddle nor you involve yourselves in this. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you will come out unscathed." Fei Cheng trod 2 steps forward. He coldly looked at Tang Xiu and said, "You were hiding before, so you should also have heard our words that we've taken the money from Boss Tai to stand for him to avoid this disaster. Since we've received Boss Tai's money, we'll handle the matters for him. I heard that you are an expert in martial arts. We are also martial artists. So, we'll ask you to have a match with us." Tang Xiu shook his head and replied grimly, "The taboo that martial artists must avoid is fighting to determine who's stronger. Practicing martial arts is to have a healthy and strong body, to protect the loved ones around you. But you all are not worthy to be martial artists. It seems that your magnificent dragon martial school is that of the rotten kind. Since you insist, wait until I solve all of you and then I'll visit your martial school. That is, if you have the chance to do so." Fei Cheng nodded toward his 3 fellow apprentices as the 4 of them flushed over toward Tang Xiu. But they did not attack and only surrounded Tang Xiu, looking for his flaws. They might have no good character, but they did know the logical truth, that if an expert move, even the slightest negligence may cause them to fall into eternal damnation. Tang Xiu was able to knock down and injure more than 20 youth thugs, and for this they did not dare to take him lightly. Wanting to gang me up? A bit of disdain sprouted in Tang Xiu's heart. He instantly moved and appeared in front of the first man in the front line. The man could only sense that something blossomed in front of him as a big fist punched the bridge of his nose. Bang! The man's arms half lifted as he let out a miserable scream. Then, he felt his chest was severely hit and that huge force made a sweet taste raise up to his throat. His body flew upside down as a mouthful of blood spurted out crazily. "You're all only trashes." Tang Xiu moved to the side to avoid the punch and kicked the other 2 men threw at him. He straightly charged forward and attacked, and easily overthrew the 2 of them down. However, he was also quite surprised that Fei Cheng's strength was really strong. If his martial arts were to be compared to the present standard, although he had yet to reach the point of the Grand Master of Martial Arts, but the difference was not far. If he was able to immerse his heart into martial arts, he would undoubtedly be able to reach the zenith in no time. "You are not my opponent." Tang Xiu moved quickly as his feet unceasingly sent intense flying kicks forward toward Fei Cheng, who was in the reverse, stepping backward. Although his every kick from each foot contained only 10% of his strength, but it still at least had the force of a few thousands of pounds. Fei Cheng could only avoid it and hardly block the kicks off with both of his arms. But his hard arm bones were then broken into several sections due to blocking those series of powerful kicks. "Stop." Fei Qian made a donkey roll and avoided Tang Xiu's foot with difficulty. Tang Xiu ignored him. He needed not to guess since he knew Fei Cheng's thought. Fei Chang did not admit that they were unable to beat him, but was hoping for this matter to stop at this point. However, the friends of my enemies are my enemies. Much less that Fei Chang had taken payment from Tai Long to stand for him against the disaster. So it was necessary that he must accept the consequences of pains and bitterness from failures. Bang! Tang Xiu kicked his chest from the side. Along with the sounds of Fei Chang's broken breastbones, he grabbed Fei Chang's arms without hesitation and forcefully twisted and broke his hands. Ah! The piercing pain was really unbearable, even Fei Chang pitifully screamed. Tang Xiu slapped him to the ground and said with a sneer, "As a man, you have to have accept defeats as the defeated. By the time you've agreed to help Tai Long, you also must think about the fate when you've failed. Now, each one of you, waste your right hand. Just think of it as small lesson for all of you. If you all dare to break the laws and commit crimes later, I will personally break all of your legs and your left hands." Having said that, he no longer cared about the four of them who miserably wailed. His vision shifted to the face of a frightened, terrified expression, who had run away for tens of meters away but was constantly looking back, Tai Long. "Since you've come, you can never leave in such a perfect condition." The moment he shouted, Tang Xiu moved as fast as lightning. In just a few breaths, he already appeared behind Tai Long's back. He exerted his strength and bombarded Tai Long's back, sending him flying 6 or 7 meters away as he fell heavily on the ground. What a fast speed! Even though Fei Chang held a bitter and painful wailing, but his consciousness was extremely sober. From the beginning, his eyes had never left Tang Xiu. From the fight before, even though he knew that Tang Xiu was very fast, but he did not expect that his speed would be that fast to this degree. Only Tang Xiu's shadow that was left behind was what he was able to see. He was struck with disbelief. How could the human body reach this state? Even grandmaster-level martial artists would not be able to do that. And now, he was full of regret, regretting that he had received this personal task. Previously, he concealed the truth to the schoolmasters Jiang Feng, and stole the time to fulfill this private work. But he had never thought that this day would come this fast. And even more, he was defeated in the hands of a young man that was about 20 years old. Tang Xiu strode toward Tai Long's side. He picked him off the ground and mercilessly slapped him on the face. After having pumped him into a pick, he continued to twist and break both of his legs. And finally, his foot stomped down on Tai Long's head. Whilst looking at the wriggling Tai Long, he coldly said, "Surnamed Tai, when you were scourging others, have you ever thought that one day you would be harmed like this? If you've got the balls, just fucking kill me." Tai Long was still unyielding. His 4 limbs had been broken. He was under such pain that made him miserably howl as he loudly roared. In contrast, the Mitsubishi Army knife in Tang Xiu's hand flashed and cut off Tai Long's ear. Whilst looking at the blood flow as though it was injection scene, Tang Xiu ridiculed, "You're indeed worthy to be an unyielding Iron Man of steel, no? Such an unyielding tough guy like you is the kind I love to torture. Now, you fucking listen to me. And use your brain to think about it. Where should my fucking knife cut next? Your other ear? Ripping your nose? Ah. I know, digging your eyeballs is also a good choice. It's your call. You're the unyielding tough guy, you decide it, will you?" Tai Long was being stomped on the head by Tang Xiu. He could feel the warmness in his ear. In such a particular taste, when he saw that his ear was ripped and cut off, the tough, unyielding heart of his instantly went up with the smoke. Something was clear for him, Tang Xiu was too ruthless and vicious. He was not old. He was only in his 40s. He had been working hard and had made millions and millions of family wealth and property. If he were to be killed by Tang Xiu, his half a lifetime of hard work, the enterprise he had been working on, would come down. His riches would be for naught, a joke. It's just like giving your own wedding dress to others. He did not want it. He was afraid of death. Listening to Tang Xiu's words made his heart bitter and frightened, as though it was being frozen in the middle of the winter solstice. Cough, cough, beg you, I beg you to let me go. I'll promise you anything, never will I dare to crisscross with you again. Tai Long begged. Tang Xiu moved his foot away from Tai Long's face. He picked him up once again and sneered, "You're begging me, eh? You've hurt my mother, injured my men, and even so rampantly and arrogantly sent your men to the hospital's entrance to intercept my men. Why the fuck didn't you beg me that time? Ha! I was wrong. Please forgive me." Tai Long coughed up a mouthful of blood, begging as he looked at Tang Xiu with a frightened expression. Tang Xiu coldly snorted and said, "Wanna hear the truth? I really don't want to kill you. But I fear that releasing a tiger to the mountain is only raising the tiger to invite the calamity. Now tell me, how should I handle this?" Right. You can look around, even though here is only a hilltop, but it's halfway up to the mountain, no? This is a good place to kill someone, robbing and destroying his corpse. And there's no trace. Tai Long's pupil shrunk and hastily assured, "Don't worry. I'll never have the idea to revenge on you. Look at me, do you think I dare to retaliate later? As long as you let me go, I'll give all of the fixed assets under my name to you and leave far away from Star City, and never will I go back again ever." Tang Xiu was silent for a moment. He slowly shook his head and said, "You are a rich man. Nowadays, even devils can be ordered to work with money. Like those 4 fucking greedy guys. You can spend your pennies to buy those of the devils and retaliate. Never once have I ever wanted to be targeted by those humans all the time. I'll give you the money." Tai Long called out loudly. Tang Xiu's mouth outlined as he said with a grim expression, "That being the case, then I'll accept it. Do you know Long Zhengyu?" Tai Long hurriedly nodded and said, "Yes. He's the general manager of the Long Group, from which I have once handled some projects." Tang Xiu indifferently said, "Then, after you've returned back, all of the assets under you will all be transferred to Long Zhengyu. I'll call that fellow to give them to me. You know Chief Long? What's your relationship with him?" Tai Long hurriedly asked. He had the thought to revenge in mind. And it was a crazy retaliation. However, hearing Tang Xiu mention Long Zhengyu, it was as if his head was being poured by ice-cold water. So most of the thought and will to retaliate reduced instantly. Tang Xiu lightly said, "He could barely be regarded as my friend." Tai Long was perfectly aware of Long Group's inside story. He was also crystal clear about the strong brand the Long family had. Upon hearing Tang Xiu's words, apart from deep regret, not even any other emotion filled his heart again. Had he known that Tang Xiu was Long Zhengyu's friend, even if he had more courage, never once would he dare to smash Tang Xiu's restaurant, neither had he had the guts to injure his mother and underlings. It was the cycle of karma. Each and everything would be reported. Tai Long was low-spirited inside. He completely dispelled his thoughts to retaliate against Tang Xiu. Thinking that his fate had ended up like this, if later he stayed still in Star City, those people who he had offended would perhaps crazily storm over at him to have their revenge. After having stayed silent for a moment, with a bitter and astringent expression, he said, "Then I'll transfer all of my assets to Chief Long. Even if I want keep some of my private assets, perhaps he can find those. And now, since I've become a disabled, after I go back, I'll take my wife and immediately leave." Chapter 132, Who's Friends with You? Tang Xiu didn't have the slightest mercy toward Tai Long. So he casually knocked him out, and with an shout, Tai Long fainted. Then, he came toward Fei Chong's side, and said indifferently, "You are responsible for sending him back. However, since this guy has you involved in this matter, I know that you're all hating him, and you might kill him halfway. But do remember today's matter. When I have free time next month, I will personally visit your magnificent dragon martial school. Don't. An alarmed and frightened expression appeared on Fei Chong's face as he begged, "Brother, please don't go to our martial school. We only came out for our private work and we hid the truth from the schoolmaster. The respected old man is upright and plain-spoken, and he's extremely demanding and strict on us. If he knew that we had private works outside, he wouldn't bear to see that we're involved in shady business, and he would kill us for sure. We beg you. We swear that later we'll never take any private work nor do dishonorable things again." Tang Xiu said indifferently, "If you had known about it earlier, why didn't you think about it before? However, knowing your own mistakes means that you can reform yourselves for the better. Later on, I hope you can put your best into it." After having said that, Tang Xiu no longer stayed and went straight down the mountain. After having solved the matter with Tai Long, Tang Xiu did not come back to the hospital but returned back to South Gate Town. Previously, he did not answer back the calls and read his SMS. Then, whilst standing inside the bedroom on the villa's second floor, Tang Xiu called his teacher in charge, Han Qinggu. "Tang Xiu, where have you been? Aren't you still a student? Mustn't you go back to school to attend the class?" When the phone was just connected, Han Qingwu's angry roar came out. Tang Xiu went outside after he took the phone. Upon hearing Han Qingwu's roar and waited for her to finish, with a pale smile, he replied, "Teacher Han, I also want to go back to school and studying. But when I just returned to Star City, something happened to my family. I'm afraid that I'll have to wait 2 days more before returning to school." "What happened at your home?" Han Qingwu's anger was reduced a lot as she asked with a tone full of care. Tang Xiu said, "Someone has smashed my mother's restaurant. Mom and a few waiters there have also been injured. For now, my mother is still hospitalized." Han Qingwu asked in an angry tone, "Who the hell are those people? In which hospital and which ward is your mother being hospitalized?" "I'll immediately." "Well, I'll go there after finishing the next class." Tang Xiu said, "Teacher Han, this matter has been resolved. But I need more days off, it's only 2 days. And then I'll go back to school. So Teacher Han doesn't need to trouble yourself to come over personally. Besides, there are things that I want to discuss with you." "And that is?" Han Qingwu was also aware that she was too anxious. So when she heard that Tang Xiu changed the topic, she asked immediately. Tang Xiu said, "I've promised Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan to help them study every night, so they can improve their academic performance. If you can, could you accommodate my request to let them leave every evening to study at my home, not at school? I'll personally counsel them." Han Qingwu angrily replied, "What? You are thinking of skip classes, aren't you? Since it's helping your own classmates, aren't you able to help them study at school?" Tang Xiu said, "My studying technique is very special and it needs a quiet environment. Don't worry, I'll guarantee that if you agree, their results certainly will be improved on the college entrance test." Han Qingwu was silent for a moment as she said with a sigh, "Tang Xiu, I don't know why you don't like to attend school. But the college entrance test is near. Couldn't you persist to stay at school for the rest of this month?" Tang Xiu said with desperation, "Teacher Han, I really want to make up for the missed lessons to them. You've seen my test results. If I want it, I can get such results, or even better than that. I have compiled my own studying method, so even though there isn't much time left till the college entrance test, I have the confidence that I can find the main points to improve their academic performance level. If you don't trust me, I'll go back to school 2 days later, and I guarantee that I'll no longer mention this issue again." At the other side, Han Qingwu was still silent. She did not know whether what Tang Xiu had said was true or not. But the final sentence Tang Xiu had said, especially the word trust, in fact, made her quite awkward. The thing was, she believed in Tang Xiu. Ever since Tang Xiu had amazed everyone with his brilliant feat, she firmly decided to believe in Tang Xiu. The silence was not short, and in truth was 2 full minutes. After which, only then Han Qingwu replied with a sigh, "Since you are so sure, then I'll choose to trust you again. I hope you don't let me down." After having said that, she directly hung up the phone. Tang Xiu secretly gasped a breath. Every time he talked with Han Qingwu, he felt that it was more tiring than fighting. He had a very complex and complicated feeling toward Han Qingwu, since she after all looked like his companion in the immortal world. But she was also the very companion who actually had betrayed him. He had his reasons. Even if he did not want to hate, but that hatred naturally came up. However, the sentiment was completely not a feeling between a man and woman's love. Tang Xiu flung his head off, trying to throw those complicated emotions out of his mind. Then, he looked at the 2 unfamiliar numbers and dialed one of them. Shortly after, Ouyang Lulu's voice came out. "Are you Tang Xiu?" Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and snappily said, "If it's not me, who do you think it is?" "It was you, miss, who called to this number, and you don't even know whose number you were calling?" Ouyang Lulu angrily replied, "Who says I don't know your number?" "Tang Xiu, you bastard, you were freeloading and catched a meal at my house, patting your own ass, and then ran away. You didn't even say hello and bid farewell to me. Aren't we friends? Who's friends with you?" This sentence had almost burst out from Tang Xiu's mouth. But then he thought that Ouyang Lulu's words also made sense. He did take Mu Qingping and her daughter, and ate without paying in Ouyang Lulu's home. So when he left, he should have bid farewell to her. However, wasn't it because she was sleeping like a dead pig and had not woken up until noon? He wryly smiled shortly. Tang Xiu said, "You called me not for this reason, yes? If there's no other things to do, I'll hang up the phone. I still have a lot of missed calls and unread messages that I have yet to respond to." Ouyang Lulu promptly called out, "Who says I don't have anything to do? I have a lot. I was just preparing to go on a trip to Star City." "You live in Star City, so you can host me, no? You are coming to Star City?" Tang Xiu said with astonishment, "Aren't you staying nicely on Jingmen Island and have to manage your Paradise Club? What makes you run to Star City for?" Ouyang Lulu proudly said, "Recently, 2 friends of mine called me to invest in a business together in your Star City. So, I want to have a look and have a good talk with them." Tang Xiu said, "Sorry, I've got to make a phone call." Having said that, he hung up the call directly. With regards to Ouyang Lulu, Tang Xiu never gave her any good lingering thoughts. This woman was eccentric, and sometimes her speech was straight ahead and pungent, and sometimes she was gentle and soft. So he did not know which her character was. Tang Xiu then turned to the last number and dialed it. After a moment, a cold voice came out of the phone. "Tang Xiu?" Tang Xiu's brows wrinkled. He felt that the voice was somewhat familiar. But he could not recall it all of a sudden. After having silent for a moment, he said, "Yes, it's me. When you have the time, I hope that you can come again to visit the Everlasting Feast Hall." A chilling voice came out again from the cell phone. Everlasting Feast Hall? Gu Xiaoshue's face appeared in Tang Xiu's mind. Then, he shook his head and said, "I don't have time these days. I've just left Jingmen Island." "Where are you?" "I want to talk to you." "What do you want to talk?" "I'll tell you in person." Tang Xiu said, "I am now in Star City. If you want to talk, then come to Star City. And don't conceal or hide anything when you talk to me later. I'm not trying to approach you. It's just that I'm curious about the 1000 Revolution Array. So I might as well tell you now that 1000 Revolution Array was created by me, and I've only taught the array only to one person in my entire life. That person was my apprentice. So I'm curious, why did the 1,000 revolution array appear in your everlasting feast hall? What did you say? The shocked voice of Gu Xiaoxue came over from the phone. Tang Shou said, you didn't hear it wrongly. The 1,000 revolution array was indeed created by me. It's not only that array, your feng shui array in everlasting feast hall, the water block dragon pen, was also created by me first. If you want to be clear about the matter, then tell me the whole story. I'll be waiting for you in Star City. If you cannot tell the whole truth, you don't need to come. It's you. Gu Xiaoxue was as if she did not hear the following words from Tang Xiu. Her voice's pitch rose for several decibels as she shouted once again. Tang Xiu knitted his brows and said, what's me? Gu Xiaoxue rapidly said, the person my master has always been searching for is you. I don't know why you haven't showed up for a decade, but it won't be mistaken. Tang Xiu, wait for me in Star City, I'll leave immediately. Toot toot toot. The blind sound came out from the phone as a slightly particular strange feeling arose inside Tang Xiu's heart. Gu Xiaoxue said that her master was looking for him. What was the meaning of this? Who was her master? What and how was her master related with his apprentice? Suddenly, Tang Xiu looked forward to Gu Xiaoxue's arrival. Perhaps the puzzles in his heart could be solved when Gu Xiaoxue arrived. After a long while. After having put away these thoughts, Tang Xiu called Long Zhengyu to tell him about Tai Long's matter. Having Long Zhengyu's help, he was not afraid that Tai Long would play shady. Although he did not clearly know about the Long family, but since they were highly respected and looked up to by so many people, that meant that their inside story was very deep. Knock knock. His door was knocked as Guin, with a smiling expression, quickly ran into the room. Tang Xiu turned around as he looked at Guin, patted her and said with a smile, how's your cultivation practice these days? Has your sense in sensing the qi circulation turned more intense? Guin pulled Tang Xiu's hand as she said with a giggle, Master, Yinin hasn't only been able to sense the energy circulation better, but can now control the qi flow. I followed the cultivation method and practice master has given me to control the energy flow inside the meridian channels. Although the speed is very slow, but at present, in one day, Yinin is able to revolve it in for a few times. So fast? Tang Xiu was shocked. Although he knew that Gu Yin had the sacred body of twin pulsate phoenix, and it was the sacred physical constitution for cultivation that could only be found in one amongst hundreds of millions. However, he did not expect that it would be so heaven-defying to this degree. Wasn't it only a short few days? Yet she could control the flow of qi in the meridian channels? It was no wonder that, at that time, the woman who had the sacred body of twin pulsate phoenix was able to step onto the final step that hundreds of millions of celestial beings were unable to tread on, that was, to ascend to the God realm. Chapter 133, The Problems with Education. Tang Xiu could not cultivate those cultivation methods before, and he could only cultivate the heavenly art of cosmic genesis But Gu Yin might be able to cultivate those cultivation methods from the immortal world. However, since he had an extremely deep comprehension in cultivation practice, guiding Gu Yin was also only natural. However, his apprentice was truly abnormal. If she kept maintaining such a heaven-defying cultivation speed like this, perhaps she would very quickly surpass and be even stronger than him, wouldn't she? Tang Xiu let out a forced and wry smile as he shook his head. Suddenly, his face changed, as something that made him speechless suddenly crossed over in his mind. It was cultivation resources. He had been collecting cultivation resources for his cultivation with difficulties. But this treasured apprentice of his had a heaven-defying cultivation talent. And it was imperative that the time must not be wasted. But since her cultivation speed was so fast, the number of cultivation resources she would need would shake the heavens. Tang Xiu looked at his precious apprentice with a brilliant smiling face, but he secretly complained for the hardship he must face inside. However, he did not want to give up the more important thing even though he must be prepared to pay the price. He set firm his resolve and decided to give his best to amass money, and going all out to seek cultivation resources on Earth, so he could make himself stronger. Even if he needed to go to outer space to seek cultivation resources in the other planets, then go he must as to meet their needs. Master, why are you seemingly unhappy? Guyin was looking at Tang Xiu with a slightly worried expression. She did not know as to how she had made her master unhappy. Tang Xiu stared blankly for a moment, before he suppressed the desperation feeling in his heart. With a smiling expression revealed on his face, he stroked her soft and supple hair and said with a light laugh, "Master isn't unhappy. I'm just thinking about something else. My apprentice's cultivation speed is very fast and I'm really surprised and happy, so how could I be unhappy? However, don't forget what I've said to you. Haste makes waste and leads to carelessness. You've just entered the cultivation path, so you should steadily cultivate and stabilize your cultivation, and improve your cultivation base bit by bit." Guyin nodded cleverly and said with a smile, "Master, I promise I'll bear your words in mind. Mom also once said that a tall building is built up from the ground, and building the foundation is the most important." "That's correct." Tang Xiu nodded with satisfaction. Suddenly, he looked up and said, "Enin, since your body has nothing wrong anymore, don't you want to go to school? Originally, I planned to let your mother take her courses and I'd take you directly to the Nine-Dragon Island. But, since courses would take 2 months of time and coupled with other things, I'm afraid it will last until September. I'll prepare to let you go to school for half a year, and wait until next year before you can go to Nine Dragons Island. What do you think?" Guyin hesitated. She shook her head and said, "Master, I haven't gone to school for 2 years, and there are a lot of subjects I have missed. So I can't keep up with a lot of lessons and curricula. Could you let me take cram school? Mom bought me a lot of textbooks a few days ago, so I'm prepared to take those courses and make up for the missed classes there without affecting my cultivation practice." For a moment, Tang Xiu was stumped for words as he immediately understood. Then, he said with a smile, "Then, so be it. Since you've missed a lot of classes, tomorrow I'll hire a teacher for you, so they can use their summer vacation time to teach you and make up for the missed classes. If you're able to keep up with those of the same grade at the same time, I'll send you to school for 6 months. If you cannot do that, then forget it." Guyin nodded in a pleasant surprise. Tang Xiu said with a laugh, "Then go play. I've some little things I need to do and must go out immediately today." Guyin said with puzzlement, "To where does Master want to go? Can Enin go with you and play? Mom went shopping at the department store, so I think it will be quite a long time until Mom to come back." Tang Xiu said, "I have important things to do. So Enin, please stay obediently at home. Wait until I've taken the college entrance test, I'll accompany you to play outside then." Guyin said with a laugh, "Master, you'll pass the college entrance test. And I'm sure you'll be admitted to a very good university." "What about university?" Thinking about it, Tang Xiu let out a bit of smile. He had completed his plan, even if he must study at a university. At most his first choice was to take the unified test for Blue City University, the best university in Shuangqing province. It was classified as an undergraduate university. Once he had been admitted to the Blue City University, he could return home often to see his mother, since it was very close. Certainly, if his mother was willing to leave with him and live in another city, he might choose to take the passing exam in other provinces and choose a top university. Attending college for him was useless. But it was his mother's wish, and he never wanted to disappoint her. After having left Southgate Town, Tang Xiu browsed through the internet using his phone to search for a few good cram schools, especially the courses for making up missed classes from the 1st to 6th grade. In order to nurture and cultivate Guyin, he was prepared to spend a lot of money. So, he must hire private tutors for 3 important subjects apart from language. Star City, inside an office building near the Baida Plaza, Tang Xiu found the New Ideas Cram School, which was marked on the net. The environment inside was good, the whole floor was occupied with New Ideas training courses, and its quality also could be seen from its interior decoration. Welcome. After having passed the entrance, the receptionist in the front desk greeted him with a cordial smile. Tang Xiu observed around a few times and then asked, "Please give me the course tables for your cram school. I want to take a look at it." "Please wait." The reception lady smiled and nodded, and quickly took out a stack of documents from the drawer. She handed it over to Tang Xiu and said, "Sir, are you sending a child to our cram school? Our teachers here are very qualified. Their education level, if compared with various universities and schools in Star City, it can be considered as the top. Most of our teachers have a teacher certificate qualification. They were willing to give up the formal system and came to us to work here." Tang Xiu opened the course table. After having read it, he could see that the prices for making up missed classes was very expensive. The more excellent the teacher and the more content the courses had, the more expensive the price. Even if Tang Xiu finally found and hired private teachers from here, the price would be outrageously expensive. "I need to find private tutors from 2nd to 6th grade of primary school. And I want all the 3 major subjects. If you can, I hope that it can start tomorrow, to arrange for teaching courses for the 2nd grade firstly. As for how to teach, it's your teacher's privileges." The reception lady's eyes brightened up. Her manner and impression on this big customer turned a bit warm. She said with a smile, "Sir, you came to our New Ideas Cram School. So you've come to the right place. You can choose the highest price package, and our teaching staff certainly." Tang Xiu waved to interrupt her words and spoke with a sinking tone, "Even your most expensive service might be insufficient. My apprentice doesn't study at school. She stays at home all day, so she has an adequate time. I hope that you don't compare it with class hours calculation, but an entire day calculation. The best is 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and 3 hours in the evening." Such a visitor like Tang Xiu was the first this receptionist lady had encountered. And in particular, it was really unexpected for her to hear the word apprentice from Tang Xiu. She hesitated for a moment and replied in a low voice, "I might have to trouble you to wait for a bit. I'll contact our boss first, because she's the only one that has the rights to make a decision about your request." "All right." Tang Xiu complied and took the stack of documents. Then, he went to the sofa at the hall corner and sat down. A few minutes later, a middle-aged woman with glasses in her professional career blazer came out from the inside. After she and the receptionist lady chatted for a few moments, she walked toward Tang Xiu and asked with a smile, "Sir, your surname?" "Tang." Tang Xiu stood up and said. The middle-aged woman said with a laugh, "I am Li Liping. You can call me elder sister Li. Our young receptionist has just told me your request. We indeed have yet to accept such a request like yours here. I want to inquire, is it that you believe that your family's child can keep up with the fast class teaching our teachers have?" Tang Xiu said, "I believe she can do it." Li Liping said with a laugh, "Since Mr. Tang is sure about it, then I can be rest assured. The customer is a deity to us, so we will certainly comply to the customer's request as best as possible. How about we set up the schedule like this? I'll arrange 3 outstanding teachers to carry on daily classes for your child. 3 hours of English tutoring in the morning, 3 hours of math tutoring in the afternoon, and language and literature tutoring in the evening. We'll also provide time for consultation." "Good." Tang Xiu nodded quickly. Li Liping continued again, "And about your request, after all of the subjects from 2nd grade curriculum ended, then if your child can keep up with the course speed, we immediately continue to the 3rd grade curriculum, then to the 4th, 5th and 6th grade curriculum, am I right? Correct. Tang Xiu said again. Li Liping asked with a smile, and about the time? Completing 5 years of curriculum for ordinary students. Are you prepared to let our outstanding classroom to teach your child with fast learning teaching? Tang Xiu said, I hope it can be started from tomorrow until September 1st. What? Li Liping was stunned. She looked at Tang Xiu with a disbelieving expression and exclaimed out, You mean, from tomorrow to September 1st? That's only 3 or 4 months of time. You want the child in your family to finish all the courses from the 2nd grade to the 6th grade? Yes, that's right. Tang Xiu nodded with a deadpan expression. A slight disappointed expression was revealed on Li Liping's face as she snapped, Sir, we are an educational institution. This is not the place for you to joke like that. If you are sincerely wanting to hire our teachers, I warmly welcome you, and we try to meet your requests to the best we could. But if you are here to joke on us, we'll end everything here. The door is there, I won't send you away. Ugh. Hearing Li Liping's words made Tang Xiu stunned. He obviously was sincere to hire teachers, no? But how would it suddenly become a joke? Underscore was my explanation not clear enough, underscore. Underscore, or did this new idea's school's boss misunderstood me, underscore. Tang Xiu thought for a moment before he seriously replied with a serious expression, I didn't joke with you. Each and every word I've said is seriously true. The child in my family is special, and special children need special treatment. You're the boss here, so you must have met a lot of gifted children. I hope that you can understand what I mean. As for the price, everything is fine for us to discuss. Li Liping observed Tang Xiu with a strange expression. She shook her head and said, I've seen a lot of gifted and intelligent children. Never once have I heard one of them who's being able to finish 5 years of curriculum for ordinary children within 3 or 4 months. Sir, teaching and learning needs to be done step by step and to gradually evolve. Your idea could be said as spoiling things out of excessive enthusiasm and being anxious to demand instant success. You know that, don't you? Chapter 134, It's all Greek to me. Tang Xiu said with a serious tone, You said yourself that the client is a deity. I just want you to arrange things as I've said. If my apprentice really cannot follow your fast curriculum teaching, then we'll work out a new teaching plan later. And as I've said to you, let's discuss the price. Li Liping hesitated. She could feel that Tang Xiu was serious, but she could not figure out as to why this young man in front of her would be so confident. But, it's not right. What did he just say? An apprentice? Could it be that the child that needed the tutors was this young man's apprentice? What a strange weirdo. Some criticism sparked unknowingly inside Li Liping's heart, but she nodded and said, I understand your meaning. Please wait for a while, and I'll immediately discuss your request with our teachers. Wait for us to work out a good teaching plan, and then I will take it to you to look at. With a sinking tone, Tang Xiu replied back, I want your best teachers. If any of you only masquerade as having an ability, it will ruin the reputation of your new idea cram school. You. Having heard Tang Xiu's words, Li Liping almost thought that Tang Xiu intentionally wanted to make trouble. She took a deep breath and said, Don't worry. Our teachers have outstanding qualifications, and I'll pick the best ones for you. After saying that, she turned around and walked inside. Tang Xiu's eyes watched her back from behind as he saw the reception lady serve him a hot tea. He nodded and took out his cell phone and dialed Kong Xia's number. Boss, any instructions? Kong Xia's voice came out of the phone along with a lot of messy sounds. Obviously, Kong Xia was now at a very noisy place. Tang Xiu said, I have something to talk to you, where are you now? Kong Xia said, I'm at the job fair, boss. The company we're setting up needs a large number of employees and I'm recruiting now. I only brought 3 people from Beijing, and it's far from enough.
Ah.
Right. Tell me where you are, I'll pick you up myself. Tang Xiu hesitated for a moment, and then said, it's all right. I'm taking care of minor things now. I'll finish this and then look for you afterward. By the way, you do your things in the job fair.
Ah.
Yes. Text me the address later. Okay. Kong Xia answered with a smile. Half an hour later. Li Liping with 3 middle-aged men and women came in front of Tang Xiu, and then handed over a set of their teaching plan to Tang Xiu, saying, this is the teaching plan we've developed according to your request. But we need to explain in advance that your request is very tight and the time is too short. Daily courses have very wide contents, so I hope you have yourself mentally prepared. Tang Xiu read it as he nodded and said, teaching is not something I'm good at, so I'll accept your plan first like this. We'll look at the conditions later and make some adjustments again. Then, what is the cost I have to pay for you now first? This? Li Liping hesitated. Such a rare and wonderful client like him was a first for her. His requests were also far beyond their ordinary teaching content and were much more different. For a moment, she was truly speechless and did not know what price she had to quote. Tang Xiu said with a puzzlement, how is it? Haven't you just discussed the service cost? Aren't you the boss here? Can't you decide how much I have to pay? Li Liping let out a wry smile and said, Mr. Tang, your request is way one of a kind. So for now, I cannot tell you how much we should charge you for the service cost. If it's okay with you, let's arrange it this way, we'll start classes tomorrow, then we'll tell you the cost by the end of tomorrow's classes. Tang Xiu said, well, it's your call. Li Liping promptly replied, however, can you pay part of the deposit first? By the end of tomorrow's courses, we'll quote our price. If you feel satisfied with it, then we'll sign the contract. If you're not, then tomorrow's courses will be free of charge and we'll return the money back to you without a single dime subtracted. How much? Asked Tang Xiu. Li Liping was silent for a moment and then said, 5,000 yuan, how about it? Tang Xiu nodded and took out his wallet and prepared to take his bank credit card out. But he suddenly found that the cash should be enough. So he pulled out all the cash out and counted them, and it happened that it was exactly 5,000 yuan. Please take it. Li Liping received 5,000 yuans in cash. She watched Tang Xiu count the money before, so she did not recount it in front of him, and instead said with a smile, Mr. Tang, please wait a bit. I'll let someone from the finance department give you a receipt. Tang Xiu waved and said, no need for the receipt. In addition, we don't need to sign any contract since I think that it's not necessary. You give the education service while I do this for the child. So, we should maintain the most basic trust between us. Tell me the price for the service tomorrow and I'll transfer the money to you directly. Later on, you send the teachers to teach the child there every day. Li Liping asked, your address is? Tang Xiu said, it's nearby from your place here. It's the last number villa in Southgate Town. Anyway, I still have some other things, so I won't disturb you any longer. Farewell. Southgate Town. The building with the last number? Li Liping's pupil shrunk as she looked at Tang Xiu's back. Her heartbeat accelerated faster all of a sudden. She had been in Southgate Town since her family had quite a rich and powerful relative living there. She knew that it was the most upscale luxurious villa complex in all of Star City. Moreover, when she visited her relatives, she heard them talk about one thing, that the best one was the King Mansion Villa in the deepest part of the complex, which had the last building's number. Mr. Tang, I'll send you out. A few changes were revealed on Li Liping's face as she strode to catch up, leaving the other 3 middle-aged teachers behind her standing still on the spot as they looked at each other in dismay. Tang Xiu politely rejected, but but Li Liping amiably insisted on sending Tang Xiu to the first floor of the office's entrance. Only then did she say with a smile, "Mr. Tang, please have a safe trip." Tang Xiu nodded. Under Li Liping's gaze, he went to the roadside to intercept a taxi and quickly disappeared at the end of the street in the distance. What a weirdo. He's really strange. He can live in the most luxurious villa in Southgate Town, but he doesn't take his car to go out and even takes a taxi? Li Liping shook her head as her heart secretly grunted. At Star City's talent market. Inside a wide venue hall, hundreds of booths were crowded with people. Because the job fair this time was a country's large-scale affair, the job fair was held by the Shuangqing province for major enterprises. The venue was established in Star City, so nearly 100,000 college graduates, unemployed people, and others were gathering there. The magnificent Tang Corporation was preparing to organize their company structure. And it was quite coincidental to have met this large-scale job fair. So Kang Xia had the idea to set up a booth in a good location. She even personally came to manage it. By the time Tang Xiu arrived at the Star City job fair, he immediately got struck with surprise by the present scene. It was already the afternoon, but the inside was still overcrowded. Nowadays, even college students are becoming less valuable. Tang Xiu suddenly remembered someone surnamed Yuan complaining nearby his ear. Then, he nodded and immediately fell into a deep thought. A lot of students had persevered to study hard for several years, and in the end, they go from door to door to apply for work. Perhaps in the past, studying was the only way out, but at present, even if one had a high level of education, if they had no real ability, everything was quite useless. Following the exact location given by Kang Xia, Tang Xiu found the booth that belonged to the magnificent Tang Corporation. Inside a few square meters booth, Kang Xia and another lovely, petite blonde girl was sitting at the desk and interviewing a young man who looked like a student. There were also two foreigner men inside, reorganizing the documents, whereas a long queue of people waited behind the young man who was being interviewed. Tang Xiu's eyes swept over and saw that the queue was at least 20 meters long. "Boss." Kang Xia immediately called up when she saw that Tang Xiu arrived. "Boss." That blonde Lolita girl also stood up and called out as she looked over and over again at Tang Xiu with a curious expression in her eyes. Tang Xiu nodded toward them, waving his hand and said, "Kang Xia, give your work to the others first, I have something I want to tell you." "All right." Kang Xia spoke to Andy at her side, and let a blonde young man with blue eyes take over her work. Then, she greeted Tang Xiu and ushered him to walk into the booth. "Boss, what instructions do you have for me?" Tang Xiu said, "There are two issues that I want you to manage. Firstly, Long Zhengyu will transfer me some money. Of course, it's money I've gotten. Although I don't know how much in details, but when the money has been transferred, I'll transfer them to you immediately. Secondly, Long Zhengyu and his two friends from the capital will invest in a big project in Star City. They say that the total investment is 5 billion yuan and the additional funds would be added if there are to be financial problems later. They want me to design the architectural design and promised me 10% of the shares. After I give them the design, the following matters will be yours to manage." 10%? Kang Xia looked at Tang Xiu with an inconceivable expression, for she was shaken by the news. A blueprint design could get 10% of the shares, and the investment funds were 5 billion yuan? She could barely imagine as to what kind of design could be valued at such a high price. "Boss, are you sure that's the shares and not the net profit dividend earnings?" Kang Xia promptly asked. Tang Xiu was puzzled and asked, "What's the difference between shares and profit dividends?" Kang Xia was secretly speechless. Only now did she find that her boss was really ignorant about doing business. After she organized her next words, she explained, "After the building is built and if it isn't sold, you keep it as your own and you have 10% of the value." Later on, if the building is sold, then you can get 10% of the total amount of the selling price. If it is to be constructed later to be sold directly, this will be subtracted from the investment funds. While 10% of this is the project's profit, that is the dividends. I think you should ascertain about this matter first, and only then will I know how to talk with them. Chapter 135, Managing People in the Right Way. Tang Xiu took out his phone and called Long Zhengyu and asked that question. After getting the answer he said, "I'll have time tomorrow, so we'll meet and talk about other things then." "Okay, we've already analyzed a plot of land for the building and we'll soon buy it. So, we'll go there tomorrow to take a look," Long Zhengyu said. "Okay." The call ended. Tang Xiu said, Long Zhengyu said that after the building is built, it won't be sold directly, but will be leased for renting and the rent dividends will be given annually. If someday the entire building needs to be sold, I still get 10% of the total selling price. With a look of disbelief, Kong Xia said, "Boss, why do I feel that Long Zhengyu and them are not buying a design from you, but rather giving you money intentionally?" Tang Xiu was surprised and said, "You could tell?" Kong Xia was speechless and pressed further, "Boss, I don't get you. Don't you know that Long Zhengyu and the bunch are intentionally giving you money?" A trace of a smiling expression was exposed on Tang Xiu's face as he said, "Those two friends of his from Beijing are very interesting. I have yet to see them. I even know nothing about them. They only relied on Long Zhengyu's evaluation about me and want to befriend me. This 10% of the shares is their goodwill to approach me." "You what?" Kong Xia was dumbfounded. She looked at Tang Xiu with a disbelieving and preposterous expression. Even in her dreams, she never dreamed of having to even hear such a reply. Just wanting to make friends, with at least 500 million yuan for goodwill only? Holy Mother! God! Jack, the interviewing staff who had just replaced Kong Xia, turned his head and exclaimed with a worshipping expression on his face. While Kashif, who was reorganizing the documents at his side, also could not bear to exclaim in admiration. Andy, who looked like a foreigner doll, turned over her delicate small face and was also dumbfounded and tongue-tied as lights flashed over from her round eyes. Little did these three know about Tang Xiu. They mainly knew him through the exchange between Tang Xiu and Kong Xia. But now, Tang Xiu shocked them so much that even it birthed a strong admiration toward him inside their hearts. Tang Xiu let out a faint smile and continued speaking, "Anyway, I've told you the matter. How are things going with your job recruitment here?" Kong Xia shook her head and said, "We are only recruiting ordinary employees now. It would be best if we also find a few department managers and assistant managers. As for each department manager and the company's other important positions, we have yet to recruit one. Andy can take charge of the marketing department, Jack is outstanding in managing the planning department, and Kashif is an expert at logistics. They have been following me for several years and have made outstanding results. But for the amount of posts our company must have, it's still far lower in between and we still need more." Tang Xiu said with a laugh, "Take it easy, no need to be anxious. As long as we give a high enough salary, I believe that there will be a lot of outstanding people with abilities who will offer their services and work for us." Upon hearing it, Kong Xia's eyes quickly glanced outside for a few times and suddenly spoke in a low voice. "Speaking about talented people, I think I've found a good one. Take a look outside. Do you see that middle-aged man with that down and out of expression? I know him, he's a person I once admired." Tang Xiu said with astonishment, "Who is he? If he's really good as you said, why would he come to the job fair to find a job?" Kong Xia said, "I've heard some news about him. In the past he was in the United States, and he's not only a genius in sales and marketing, but is also an IT expert. He once established a US high-end cosmetic brand and sold the product to the entire world and made the company's asset multiply by thousands of times in a short span of 6 years. However, 5 years ago, He broke into some IT company's internal system and stole the most confidential data the company had, and then got sentenced to prison. I don't know when he came back to the country, nor do I know why he came to this talent job fair. Tang Xiu's brows wrinkled as he replied in a low voice, such a talented person, but why don't you directly invite him? Kang Xia shook her head and said, I only know that he's really good, but since he has some problematic aspects, I have my worries. So I'm going to clarify about those first before inviting him. Tang Xiu looked at the middle-aged man who lined up behind. He thought for a moment and slowly said, how about I interview him? Kang Xia said with an astonishment, you know how to interview? Tang Xiu said with a laugh.
Nah.
But I understand human nature. Kang Xia shrugged her shoulders as she said with a smile, since the big boss wants to act personally, then please be my guest. I hope you can get a good talent, boss. Time passed by. In a moment, 20 minutes had passed by. When the down and out looking middle-aged man sat on the interviewee chair and saw that the interviewer was replaced by Tang Xiu, and Kang Xia, a trace of astonishment was revealed on his face. Then, he nodded at Kang Xia and said, Chief Kang, have you been good? Kang Xia replied with a surprised expression, you know me? The middle-aged man nodded and said, I heard a business genius was leaving Wall Street, so I did pay a bit of attention and know something about you. Kang Xia took the document holder handed by the middle-aged man. She handed it over to Tang Xiu as she said with a smile, our country does produce talented people in each generation. Anyway, without further ado, the one who will do the interview for you is our boss, I'm only a bystander. Tang Xiu read the middle-aged man's data which was very simple. His name was Wei Zhongfeng, 42 years old. Experienced in sales and marketing, married and settled down in Blue City's provincial capital. Tang Xiu put down the document, looking at Wei Zhongfeng and said, 3 questions. If your answers satisfy me, I'll hire you. Please ask. The moment Tang Xiu carefully observed Wei Zhongfeng, he also did the same toward Tang Xiu. His purpose in coming to Star City was mainly to apply for a position in the magnificent Tang Corporation. He was interested because of the business world celebrity, Kang Xia, as well as the new boss Kang Xia was working for. Tang Xiu said, first question. Since ancient times, it has been very difficult to satisfy both loyalty and filial piety. If you had to choose one, which one would you choose? Wei Zhongfeng was stunned. He did not expect that Tang Xiu would ask such an unexpected question. He thought for a moment in his heart and then slowly said, I'm just a little man, a nobody. Never can I do things like a saint. If anyone threatens me with my family's life, I will choose to betray loyalty and preserve my family. Tang Xiu nodded and continued, second question. Who do you think is the most important? Your mother or your child? With a strange expression, Wei Zhongfeng looked at Tang Xiu and said resolutely, both are important. I'll draw an analogy. If my mother and my children fell into the water at the same time, if you ask me which one I have to save, then I can tell you clearly, I'll save whichever is closest to me. If I can, I'd use my life to exchange it for another. Tang Xiu nodded again and said, the third question. You seem to be in awfully dire straits, so why did you choose the magnificent Tang Corporation? In his heart, Wei Zhongfeng intrinsically thought of something. Tang Xiu's third question was seemingly asking one point, but in fact, he also concealed another question, that was, why he seemed to look down and out. He deeply thought about it in his mind and replied, my answer for this question comes from 2 aspects. Firstly, I was just released from prison a year ago. My family has been through a storm and I was quite depressed for more than a year. I've just recovered recently and actually got rejections from a lot of major enterprises since the domestic circumstances are much more different overseas. Secondly, I'm interested about the famous Kang Xia, but more do I feel interested toward the person who could make such a proud person like her to willingly work for him. I need to seek work with a considerable income, and I also want to continue working hard for my career. Tang Xiu applauded. I'm satisfied with your answers. I welcome you in joining the magnificent Tang Corporation and becoming our member. But, in the view of my first question, I have to tell you that if in the future, you encounter problems where you cannot satisfy both loyalty and filial piety, you can tell me and I can help you satisfy both. Huh? Wei Zhongfeng's brows slanted as he looked at Tang Xiu with an astonished expression. Tang Xiu did not explain further as he continued, I'll give you 2 days to solve your personal problems. 2 days later, go report to Kong Xia. As for your position, I think you should be a good sales staff. You must start from the bottom. And I'd like to see your track records in working carefully, making steady progress to achieve the seat you want to get. Ordinary salesman? Wei Zhongfeng was shocked. And Kong Xia at the side was also stunned. They stared at Tang Xiu with puzzlement in their eyes. Tang Xiu asked, You're not satisfied? Wei Zhongfeng paused for a moment before he shook his head and said, It's not it. It's just unexpected. Don't worry, boss. 2 days later I'll come back on time and find Kong Xia to report. Good. Tang Xiu said. Along with Wei Zhongfeng's departure, Kong Xia looked at Tang Xiu as she asked with a puzzled expression, Boss, Wei Zhongfeng's answers were to your satisfaction, right? Since you know his ability, why did you make him start from the bottom? We are now exactly in dire need of talented people, so he could be made into a sales manager. I think he will be able to competently achieve it. Tang Xiu said indifferently, people often are unable to cherish things they receive too easily. And for ones that have gone through great tribulation, we only need to deepen his unforgettable memories. With an astonished expression in her eyes, Kong Xia looked at Tang Xiu. She had always felt that Tang Xiu was unlike a 20-years-old young man, but instead looked like a mature and stable middle-aged man. But at the moment, she felt that Tang Xiu was like an astute scheming old fox. Tang Xiu stood up. He looked at Kong Xia and said, Anyway, I have some things to do so I'll go first. You do everything you see fit here. Kong Xia secretly turned supercilious. Having such a do everything as you see fit boss all the time, she really did not know whether she should be happy or worry. Before, the things she was most afraid of was that her boss would restrain her rights, but now, she felt that she really had too much liberty. Take care, boss. Andy looked at Tang Xiu as though she was looking at a deity. It was as the saying goes, seeing is believing. She knew a lot about Oriental cultures, and she really thought that the sayings were too true. The boss was so young and he already was this amazing, to what extent would the boss go to in the future? He might be heaven-defying later, mightn't he? Kong Xia retracted back her sight from Tang Xiu's back. Upon seeing Andy's expression, which was quite happy and in a good mood, she patted her shoulder as she said with a smile, Bad girl, quickly wipe off your saliva, will you?